The County Commissioners meeting for the 15th day of August is 2017. It is 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. First thing we have on our agenda, as usual, is we got the invocation, and we got the Reverend Ed Lindsay from the First Wesleyan Church in Troy. And this may be his third tour of duty in Troy. I'm not sure. He likes it so good he keeps coming back. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay, for being here. We appreciate it, Reverend.
Let us pray. Kind Heavenly Father, we thank you first for life, for your blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We pray tonight that you will bless our county commissioners, give them the wisdom dealing with each item on the agenda, give them a sense of welfare for the needs of the people of this county. Thank you for your love, your blessings. Bestow your blessings upon this meeting, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Reverend Lindsay, thank you for being here and appreciate your service to our county. Thank you. Next thing on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Woodard.
If you are able, please rise and join us in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we have the approval of the agenda, I want to welcome everybody. Thank all of you for coming. We certainly appreciate you being here. Next thing on our agenda is the approval of our agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Copeland. Thank you, Commissioner Copeland. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Matheny. Do we have any discussion? Not all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We do have the public forum, and before we have that, Mr. Woodard, if you would go over the overview of the rules and procedures for the public forum.
Chairman, I'd be delighted. The public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to comment on county business or items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. This period shall not serve as a forum for debate with the Board of Commissioners. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the board and not to staff, the audience, or the media. The chairman will open the public comment period. Any person who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and announce his or her name and physical address prior to making a comment. Any citizen desiring to comment on a matter of public interest within the authority of the Board of Commissioners to legislate in an open forum shall be allocated 3 minutes time. Citizens may yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing no more than 2 citizens' time slots, thus allowing up to 9 minutes for one person. The county manager shall notify the chairman upon the expiration of the allocated time.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We have some people that signed up, and of course, if you didn't sign up, you certainly will have the ability to speak as well if you didn't get signed up. The first one we have is Mr. Eddie Goodall, and Mr. Goodall, you and I have spoken briefly. You will have a couple of people yielding time to you. To get that up front, if you'll let the clerk know on the record, first of all, who you are, your address, and then when you come to the mic, let us know who's yielding time, and then we can start the clock, and you won't have to have us stop you every 3 minutes to tell us who's going to yield the next 3.
My name is Eddie Goodall. My address is 2132 Greenwood Parkway in Wayne, North Carolina. And the ladies yielding their time to me are Diana Levier and Chrissy Watt.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now we'll start the clock.
Thank you, and it's great to be here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Eddie Goodall. I am a former resident of Montgomery County, Tennessee, so this feels comfortable. We're going to talk to you today about Tillery Charter Academy, which is a future charter school we hope to open in Montgomery County. Don't have a location yet, but we want to talk a little bit about that and charter schools. Quickly, my background involves the CPA world. I had worked in business for several decades. I was in the Senate for 6 years, and one time tried to be your senator back around 2000 and failed in that attempt. But had a good time campaigning up here. But in the last 8 years, I've spent my time working to develop charter schools. We got the Catholic in North Carolina. We got 15 years. We got the now help develop charter schools when people call on me and help them get over operate the schools. I want to remind you that charter schools are public schools. They're paid for with public dollars. They're open to the public, free and open to any student in North Carolina that can go to any public school. Charter schools are created by the legislature, and a contract is created between the charter school board of directors, typically always a 501c3, and the state board of education. Charter schools have a high degree of accountability. Sometimes it's not quite understood, but we have a part of BPI that called the Office of Charter Schools that oversees everything charters do. We also have another group called the Charter School Advisory Board that makes decisions about policy or recommendations to the state board solely regarding charter schools. We have the federal government, we have the State Board of Education. We have auditors that are approved by the LGC that do audits just like they do for your subdivisions of government. And lastly, and really most importantly, we have parents that are looking at charter schools and holding them accountable. Because without parents, without students, there is no money. Money follows the students. And so parents are integral to this charter school movement. Charter schools, because they're held to that accountability, have some exclusions, some exemptions from typical rules and regulations of traditional public schools or district schools. Some of those include not having to follow the teacher salary schedule, so that we can pay great teachers more than the schedule that they have. But not so great teachers will pay less. We don't have categorical spending, meaning that the state gives us a block of money and in general allows the board of directors to decide how to spend that block of money instead of setting it up in categories. So freedoms that charters have make management a little easier and a little more flexible. And lastly, in talking about about charters, let me mention the word choice. Charters do represent a choice for parents, and I'll remind all here that charters have never taken anyone out of a school. Parents do that. So if the parents, some parents in Montgomery County want to look at our school when we have it up and we can describe it and they can meet people and want to come to our school, that's great. If they don't, we understand that. So that's the choice element. I want to mention that we care very much about our relationship with Montgomery County and Troy, Mount Gilead, wherever we locate the school. We want to be good citizens. We know you don't have trust in anything initially. You have to earn trust. So as a corporate citizen, as a public institution, we will come here and try to be good citizens and do a good job for the students here, the parents here, and again, be part of whatever community we located in. Lastly, I would want to mention that we do need public support. We have a Facebook page. We have a website. We'll start having community interest events. And again, care very much. We would like to talk to anybody that has ideas about how we could improve our school or make our school a good school. It's not created yet, but in our application process, we'd love to hear from people. We need a location, and again, we could use some board members or again people that are interested in our school. And commissioners, that's primarily it. If I could let the two community volunteers just introduce themselves and mention an event we're having, then I will waive my remaining 4 minutes if I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Hi, I'm Chrissy.
Yeah, come up to the mic so we can get you on the record, and we need your name and address as well.
Hi, I'm Chrissy Fisher. My address is 191 Memory Lane in Mount Gilead. And I'm a parent here in Montgomery County, and seeing Tulare Charter Academy is something I'd really like to see for my young children. And then this is... My name is Diana Lurier, 320 Zion Church Road, Mount Gilead. And I also have a young child, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to bring
Listen, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we will go down the, now I had, you signed up, and that means you signed up to yield time and also to speak, so you don't, the rest of the 3 minutes, okay, you're through. That was my question. You're through. Good. Mr. R.C. Bostic. Mr. Bostic, good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and other commissioners. I'm here again. I'm sure you know that I'm here for the retiring of the Confederate flag on UR. You know, I was thinking when I first ran for county commissioner, I knew very little about it. And I probably promised people something that I didn't have anything in the world to do with if they'd vote for me. But I ran for county commissioner because I had a love for Montgomery County. I wanted to do things that I felt would better this county. And that was my reason for running. And, you know, I didn't even know, because I was the first black that ever ran, ever was on the board. Didn't even know that there was a stipend paid to the commissioner, because I wasn't interested in money that could be gotten from this particular job. But I was interested in what I could do in Montgomery County. And the thing that I see with this flag, and the thing that bothers me so much, and I know all of you probably listened to and seen Charlottesville on the site for the weekend, and when you see all of those Confederate flags, they represent hate. And everybody that tells me that's heritage and things like that, they're only doing, I don't know what they're doing other than lying. Because that does not represent that. That was the Confederacy conceived from the Union to get away from this country that we serve now. And why would we want to do that? And I understand that there's something going on that we might build another fire department. I hope that's not true, because I sure hope that we don't punish every other citizen in Montgomery County just because we got a few people that want to fly that flag. And I don't think that I'm going to want to take any more of my tax dollars to build a facility that we don't need. And I hope and pray that you all will see the need to defund that program, or if they don't take the flag down. But if they don't take it down, they're going to do that. They are punishing their own self and causing their fire insurance and everything else to go up if they do not choose to take it down. So I hope that these boards would have the courage to do the thing that is right for Montgomery County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bostic. Harvey Mack. Mr. Harvey Mack, good to see you here tonight.
Thank you, thank you. My name is Harvey Mack. I'm resident 980 Window Road, Texas Springs. I'm here too to speak out on the Confederate flag. You know, I don't want to go into a lot of history because I don't have a lot of time. But the Confederate flag was the symbol for the southern states seceding from the Union in order to maintain what they call their way of life, slavery. Now, I remember from 1991 to 1995, farmers in southwestern United States were saying a similar thing. We cannot get our crops harvested if we do not have the Mexican migrant labor. And we see what that has turned into during this administration. But what, and I just want to make that point, but to me, the Confederate flag is a symbol of hatred and intimidation. After the southern states lost the war, then you had the United think today we continue to allow that flag in public buildings that signifies the same symbol of hate and intimidation. We should go beyond that. We should be above that. We should, I was listening to the news earlier today, and I think one of the school systems has decided that the Confederate flag is no longer allowed in their dress code. Schools can do that and teach their young people. I think that we as adults, residents of the county, members of the county government, can take some steps to do the same thing. We should not allow hatred and intimidation to guide us, because that's what is happening. We know better and we can do better. I went to school in North Carolina, and my goal was when I retired to return to North Carolina. And one of the things that impressed me when I went to school here, one of the things that many of the instructors would say, North Carolina has one of the most beautiful road systems. They're number 2 to California. And I said, you know, when I finish up, when I finish work, I want to move back to North Carolina. That's where I want to be. I grew up in South Carolina, but North Carolina is a close second. I think we need to give some serious thought to seeing flag come back.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. That's all I had to sign up, but the floor is open. If you'll raise your hands, I'll be glad to usher you up. Anyone? Anyone? Mr. Little. Mr. Little, good to see you here tonight.
It's good to be here. And of course, I'm participle on Windlow Road. And pretty much I'm going to echo what Mr. Boston and Mr. Mack has said, is that you sent out a letter, and I quite frankly thought that it was a fairly good letter, and some concerns about some of it, but you sent the letter out. And tonight, I suppose that we await, or I await, to see what the findings of that were, or how they respond to that letter. The Confederate flag, again, is a flag that spells hatred, separatism, bigotry, and all of those other negative things. I can't express enough to anybody in this room how, as an African American in particular, this flag is not an insult only to African Americans. It's an insult to any person who calls themselves a member of these United States. The Confederacy lost the war. And this is a union, and it is a union of the United States. That flag should come down. And I am hopeful that whatever the response that you received from the fire department, that they would agree to take it down. If not, I hope that you have the courage to do the right thing. And in my opinion, the right thing is defund and move any equipment that makes it a fire department from that site. You will have not caused harm to them. They would have caused harm to themselves. I thank you for listening to me. Have the courage to do the right thing. Unite our county. Have the courage to do the right thing. Thank you.
Mr. Little, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? If not, we'll move forward, and Mr. Woodard will have some comments pertaining to this in his manager's report in just a short time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Eddie, thanks for, we'll let you get out before we start back up. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Matheny. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Copeland. Are there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we appreciate you agreeing to serve on the mental health board again, Mr. Copeland. We have some action items in the county manager's report. Mr. Woodard.
Chairman, thank you. The first item, and I apologize for it being somewhat confusing, but Max Garner, who is the attorney for the Board of Education, he was working on the lease agreements that would allow First Health to put the dental centers in East and West middle schools. As the board is aware, the county is the owner of East Middle. When we got the qualified school construction bond, the QSCAB, that allowed us to replace the roof on East and West, and numerous improvement projects at all the schools in the county, that we had to collateralize that loan, and we used East Middle, and so the title came to us. And so Mr. Garner contacted me about if it did come up in those lease agreements that the true owner had to sign, was the county willing to sign to make that happen? And of course we were. I asked him to send me his draft lease agreement so I could just put it in the agenda packet, but what I'm asking for is the approval of the board to allow me, if necessary, to sign that lease agreement to allow the dental centers to be at East and West Middle School.
Prior to asking for a motion, are there any questions to Mr. Woodard about this before we? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We've got a motion from Commissioner Crisco. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Wooten. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Woodard.
The second action item is the approval of the fuel farm for the Montgomery County Airport. The county received a grant from the North Carolina Department of Aviation and non-primary entitlement funds in the amount of $215,000 to provide fuel at our airport. The board, I think 2 months ago maybe, approved Avcon as the engineer for the project, and now we are looking for the board's approval to move forward with this project, which will be at no county dollars required. Obviously, this will be the first time the county has been in the retail gas business, aviation fuel. In the past, there has been gas at the airport, but that was when the county was contracting out the FBO services there. And so looking ahead to what would be required of county staff and how we would price the fuel and so forth, that we met with the Airport Advisory Committee, and we came up with the procedures that is in the board packet as to who would be responsible for the daily testing of fuel. That's one of the requirements, to be Shell branded for avgas is daily testing. Also, what pricing model we would use to be competitive and so forth. And so I have laid out those responsibilities in that document to answer any questions the board may have about that, but we would like the board's approval to move forward with signing the contract agreements to get this project done, again with a grant from the Department of Aviation and no county dollars.
Prior to the asking for a motion, are there any questions to Mr. Woodard?
Matthew,
I want to ask one. Before we had met, a couple years ago, maybe, and they was talking about putting, now that would be where they could fly in and it doesn't have to be manned, they could get their fuel.
Yes, sir, absolutely. It is a self-service credit card fueling
yeah,
system,
okay.
so there's not requirement of on-site. There is a daily testing requirement, so we'll have to have an employee out there. I'm working with the org chart, and we'll have some suggestions as to how we're going to do that, but we certainly can manage it. But no, it will be self-service.
Okay. Commissioner Crisco.
what kind of time frame are you looking to have that time?
They're wanting to move very aggressively. Originally, it was going to be in September, but more realistically, it's probably November. The engineer will come and evaluate the site and do the phase 1 environmentals, and he'll come back with 3 sites. And then we'll put the airport, we'll pull the Airport Advisory Committee back together, get their input on which site to select, bring that to the commissioners, and realistically, November, December.
Other questions? Mr. Matheny, you are our aviation expert. If you have any questions or comments. Those that don't know, Commissioner Matheny was a pilot, flew jets, and I'm not so sure he still don't hold the record for aircraft landings, maybe 1,200 or 2,500 or I don't know. I mean, he knew how to hit a boat. He knew how to get that thing on the boat. But anyway, something everybody needs to know, Jimmy, that you did a lot of flying back in your day. But anyway, any other questions? Well, and you and I talked about this by phone one day when we talked about this particular thing. The shelf life for fuel.
Yes, the shelf life for avgas is 6 months. We requested for the engineers to put a mixer in the tank that we can run daily to extend that life out. It's going to be a 5,000-gallon tank. The reason for that size is we're going to be buying half tanker loads, 4,000 gallons of fuel. And so the system we have set up, and Brian Helms has been instrumental in this. Brian worked with a new vendor for the county fueling that we have now for vehicles, and so Go Energies is the name of that company. They're going to be providing the software, the brains behind the fueling. It will notify us when the fuel level's at a certain level. We'll notify Eastern Aviation, who's the fuel supplier, and coordinate that 4,000-gallon tank. But yes, it is a shelf life of 6 months. And again, that's the reason we want to come up with a competitive pricing model, so we won't be sitting on a lot of fuel, and hopefully we'll have some interest. And the airport is an economic asset, as the board has expressed before, that we're still in. Our primary job here is to try to attract jobs and business, and having that airfield is part of that formula, hopefully.
Any other questions? If not, can you entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion from Commissioner Copeland.
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Matheny. Do we have any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now we've got 3 items concerning the public utilities. Is Chris going to present these, Mr. Manager?
Chairman, he is. Matthew Morris is here as well, and I'll ask Chris and Matthew to come up. They were tandemly instrumental in getting us these grants. Of course, the board was too, and setting the county water rates that allowed us to be 50% grant eligible, and that has paid off the efforts of the board, the efforts of these 2 gentlemen. Matthew, come on up. You don't have to be shy. And so, as part of the process, we had the RFQ for engineering services, and so we'll just let Chris briefly touch on the process we go through to select engineers, and then the recommendations that him and Matthew are making for these 3 crucial projects.
Matthew, when you come in with a backpack, I started to have the deputies pat you down. I didn't know what you did.
Yeah,
but we appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here.
Everybody met Matthew?
And we appreciate you being here, Matthew.
He has been very instrumental in writing the grants and helping actually get these projects funded. A lot of his time went towards these projects. Both of us are actually proud of the fact that we were able to get all 3 100% funded with 50% grant.
Chris actually told me, he said, I've actually found somebody smarter than I am. And I said, well, that shouldn't have been a lot of work.
How far did you look? Thank you. Carry on.
So per North Carolina general statute, we do have to RFQ for professional services in anticipation of a $50,000 fee or higher. And so we knew that these projects were being funded, so we went ahead and publicized that RFQ for all 3 projects. And we received 4 responses from 4 different firms, and we spent the last week reviewing those. And as you know, we don't have one engineering firm that we work with. We try to do our best to match the strengths of individual firms with the specific scopes of work that are involved in each project. And so we take a look at the project, and when we get the responses back from the RFQ, we match up those technical expertise and experiences with individual projects. So we do have recommendations we'd like to bring forward, and if it pleases the chairman and the rest of the board, we go in order.
Please do. We have to have 3 different actions, though, am I correct? Okay.
I think underlying statement for all three of them, we're asking the board to approve awarding engineering service contracts or agreements to firms based on successful negotiations that the fees are within the established budgets that are attached to any board package. So we know the maximum dollar amount that it
We want to take these in order, and first I'm going to ask if any of the commissioners have any questions of you about any of these. Is that okay with you? Okay. About any of the three before we take them in order. That way we can get all the questioning out of the way before we take each one. And anything else you want to say about them, certainly feel free to do so.
Okay, I will all give you a little justification. It's also in the packet for each project. The first project on the agenda is Booster Station 1 and 2 rehabilitation, and LKC's response to the RFQ. They were by a long shot the most experienced in pump station design and rehabilitation, and they have worked with us in the past and completed the high service pump project as well. So they were naturally suited for this particular project. So we're recommending that the board approve engineering service agreement with LKC.
Okay. I'll let you go on and talk to us about all three of them, and then we'll come back to each one. And then the commissioners have an opportunity to ask you any question about each one. Commissioner Crisco is well versed in this particular field of work and may have some questions as well.
The chemical feed project was naturally suited for the Wooten Company. Their response indicated at least three projects where they have shown demonstrated proficiency in chemical processes and principles. And they are also working with both Montgomery County Public Utilities and the town of Robbins to evaluate disinfectant byproducts within our shared system. And so to us, they presented and demonstrated sufficient experience, and we're recommending them for the chemical feed systems rehabilitation project.
And that name again, Mr. Hilder?
That's the Wooten Company.
Okay. No
relation. Now, Chris, what is the rehab? What are you rehabbing?
We're rehabbing the alum feed system, the caustic system, and phosphate. Basically, every component to our chemical feed system we are ripping out and replacing. We're also doing some architectural work just to shore up the floor where there's been some corrosion and things within the steel. And so we'll put a coating on the walls and the floor. We'll replace the bulk tanks outside, all the plumbing that goes along with it, the transfer pump, bulk tanks to the day tanks, new day tanks, new plumbing, controls, and electrical for all systems.
Are y'all feeding ammonia yet for the chlorines, or still this not going to be any of this included?
At this time, no process changes are included.
Okay, and that was the Wooten Company.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the last one also, the Wooten Company demonstrated proficient experience in replacing water lines, not the installation of new. It is new, but you're replacing in a high density area. They did similar projects on High Rock Lake and in the town of Wingate, where they had to maintain service while installing the new lines, and with minimum downtime. And so we're recommending those, the Wooten Company also for the Fairway Shores water main replacement project.
Okay. Any other questions about any of the three items that Mr. Hilden has brought for us, and Mr. Morris?
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask Chris on the Fairway Shores, those lines will be of sufficient size to provide fire hydrants throughout the
Yes, sir, 6 inch.
mains, going down the main streets.
Yeah.
6 inch.
Good question. And what are they now, Mr. Hilden?
They're anywhere, there's some 4, very little, a little bit of 3 and under. Everything else is under. The majority of them are 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and 1.5.
So we're talking about something that could have an impact and savings for insurance, maybe.
Yes, sir, with additional fire hydrants near residential properties, their insurance rates will be
Other questions? If not, we'll take these in order. Mr. Matheny, do you have another question? Okay. We'll take these in order. Item C on your list, Public Utilities Engineering Service Recommendation for the Booster Pump Station 1 and 2 is LKC. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Commissioner Matheny. Do we have a second?
I'll
Second from Commissioner Crisco. Any discussion? Everybody good? Not all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item D is the engineering service recommendation of the chemical feed system rehabilitation, the Wooten Company. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved from Commissioner Copeland. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Matheny. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The last one is the engineering services recommendations for Fairway Shores Water Main. The Wooten Company as well. Have a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion from Commissioner Crisco. Thank you. Have a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Copeland. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Both of you, thank you for being here. Thank you.
Chairman, if I may too, I want to thank Matthew and Chris for going through this process individually for each of our projects. That it'd be easy enough for the county to pick an engineer and just pass all the projects to them, but evaluating the expertise of each engineer and what's best suited for us and keeping it competitive and making them value our work, I think is an asset to the county and valuable. So I certainly thank them for going through that process each time.
Thank you. And the entire staff too as well. All right, County Manager's report, Mr. Woodard.
Chairman, thank you again. The first item I have is an update on the URI Volunteer Fire Department, as referenced earlier. At the last Board of Commissioners meeting, staff was instructed to mail the Commissioner's position statement to the individual volunteers and the board members of the URI Fire Department. The county's position was a request to remove the flag from the fire station and ask for the department's comments and concerns prior to this meeting. That department, the URI Fire Department, has responded to that request. They have articulated their concerns over respecting their history, valuing a tradition that's in their local department, and also taking the flag down as a sign of acquiescence of some wrongdoing on their part. And so they articulated their perspectives. Their communication was very respectful. I followed up with that today with a meeting representative of the fire department in which I shared the board's concerns and some of the concerns that we have heard from members of the public. In both their written and verbal discussions, the URI Fire Department has expressed a willingness to sit down with the county to discuss this matter in more detail. It's my recommendation, therefore, that we designate 2 commissioners and me to meet with a like-sized representative party from the department to further these discussions. It goes without saying the county does not condone acts of violence and vandalism alike, and that the recent actions in parts of the country are unacceptable and unforgivable. As a means to an end, however, the county takes a position not only renouncing such items, but to take measures for action that are more reflective of our community. Montgomery County is a close-knit community. We're a community that values one another. We are a community that works together. It is our hope that we can reach a resolution through these means. The County Board of Commissioners has expressed their opinion in relation to the flag, that it needs to be removed. It is from that point that we move forward with discussions. With the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I request an election of delegates so that they and I can meet with the department to move this forward.
Certainly, in my view, Mr. Woodard and to the rest of the commissioners, and Mr. Copeland should be on that delegation. I spoke with him briefly. He's willing, I think, to serve and has agreed to volunteer his services for that, because this is going to be a matter in which you're going to get onto promptly and efficiently.
Yes, sir.
So he's agreed to serve, and I think Mr. Wooten had another recommendation as well.
I'd like to ask Mr. Matheny to serve, since it's his district that this is occurring in.
What we will vote on that, but in the discussion part of it, like I say, ASAP, get on this situation as soon as possible, which means immediately if you can, and see if we can move this to a resolution quickly.
I will certainly reach out to the representative I spoke with today and communicate to them that the board accepts their willingness to sit down and further these discussions, and that Commissioner Copeland and Commissioner Matheny are the representatives, and get their delegation and move on as quickly as their time permits in the fire department.
Okay, and report back to us ASAP.
Next meeting, yes, sir.
Okay, we're gonna have to, I think, have an action on that, Mr. Woodard, to appoint these two, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion from the board to appoint Mr. Matheny and Mr. Copeland to this delegation?
I'll make
Got
that
a motion
motion.
from Commissioner
I'll
Crisco.
second it.
Have a second from Commissioner Wooten. All in favor, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Woodard.
The last thing on the agenda is the county reports, and I'm very thankful as always that the staff is here in force to answer any questions about the reports they submitted or about any action of county government, praise or things we can do to get better. So I will certainly turn that over to the board. The only things I have to mention is that we will have a special called meeting on August the 22nd of the Board of Commissioners to vote on the early site package for the Central High School. We all have our fingers crossed for Thursday. That's when the bids come in for the early grading package. There is topographical issues. We're going to have about a 35-foot retaining wall. Level 1 will have the academic buildings, and level 2 will have the academic fields. That grading and the cost of that is a big part of the package, and so we keep our fingers crossed, hoping the bids come in within our budget. But that'll happen on the 17th. The architects, Chris Hildreth, and the school system will review those and have a recommendation to the board on our meeting on August 22nd. And that's going to be a morning meeting, if I'm right, Trent, 8:30, 9 o'clock? 8:30. Other thing I have is that the Veterans Office will be opening on September 18th. The office closes here on Friday the 15th for that moving. We have already shown the veterans and the council the offices, and we're very excited about having those new facilities for them.
And the people here in the audience, I would strongly recommend that at some point after, what's the date, Matt?
September 18th.
18th. Please go by and look. We are so proud of the Veteran Service Office. We've gone from the basement of the Agriculture Center to had space here. They've now got a boardroom. They've now got an office space and a place for privacy, restrooms, and we showed the council, Montgomery Council, is that right, Veterans Council, several weeks ago what we had planned, and they were so excited because they've had to live with less than adequate quarters for quite some time. We're proud of what we've done for the veterans, and please go by and see them. More importantly, if you know veterans that need services, please send them. That's what we're here for. This is not required that we have a Veteran Service Office. Montgomery County, is that correct?
That's good.
Montgomery County has elected to do so. We've got a lot of veterans. We've got a lot of people that can use that service. We have connected it and with personnel, tied it into the social service system where other needs of the veterans may be met through that system. We think we've done a good job with that. We've really improved it. I'm proud of it. Not being a veteran, but being around veterans here that served. And having a family full of veterans, I'm proud of it, and we appreciate what staff has done with that. Thank you so much. And please to the people here, go by and see that. They'd love to have you visit. And if you know veterans, please send them. Okay, Mr. Woodard?
I'll be glad to answer any questions or have staff answer questions.
Any questions? If not, we want to thank all of you for being here. We appreciate your attendance. Certainly appreciate all the comments tonight, and certainly we'll carry forward with the county, with the business of the county. And with that said, this meeting is adjourned. Mr. Clerk, I got anything I got to sign there?